In the last 4 weeks, we've been looking at the wisdom of the songs of the Beatles. And when you first think of the songs of the Beatles, they just sound like lovely songs to sing along to. And that's marvelous, because it's fun. And it's even more fun if you start taking apart some of the rhythms in the lyrics and the themes of the lyrics. And that's what we have done for each of the 4 weeks previous to today. And today I'm going to begin our Beatles tribute with the Beatles Prayer that I've said a few times. This was something that was shared with me, and then, of course, I go and change it up a little even more. But it was given to me by Reverend Sharon Ketchum, who used to be the minister at Unity in Kitchener. And it is made up primarily of Beatles song titles. So if you feel comfortable, close your eyes. If you want to just listen and enjoy with your eyes open, then that's cool too. But for the last time for this series. My sweet Lord, here, there, and everywhere, within you, without you, I'm looking through you. I want to tell you, it's all too much. It don't come easy. So love me do. I've got to get you into my life because you've really got a hold on me. It's been a hard day's night. Tell me what you see. A fool on a hill? A nowhere man? Do you want to know a secret? I should have known better. With a little help from my friends, we can work it out. I'll step onto that long and winding road. Here comes the sun. I'll follow the sun. Because I believe in yesterday. I imagine strawberry fields forever. I've got a feeling. I want to hold your hand as I journey across the universe. I call your name. Don't let me down. Just say the word. I'll let it be. It's gonna be all right. Because all you need is love. Week 1, we looked at the question, how do we change our world? And we explored the process of change and what works and what doesn't work when we want a revolution, a change. And we looked at a bunch of songs. We looked at help, revolution, across the universe, imagine, and here comes the sun. We looked at help because we've all had that experience that we hear about in that song, where our lives have changed in oh so many ways. And it feels as if our independence has vanished in a haze. And all we want to do is get back to where we were before. Another song. And it can be a lonely place when all we want to do is cry for help. Please, help me. Then we looked at the song Revolution. And in this is where we spent much of our discussion. We see this imaginary conversation between a person who has answers and a person who is seeking help. And we see this recurring affirmation of, don't you know, it's going to be all right. It starts with, you say you want a revolution, we all want to change the world. You say it's going to be evolution, well, we all want to change the world. I'm with you so far. And then it moves to, when you talk about destruction, count me out. Then we move to another verse. And the person who has the answers says, I've got a solution. And the person who is seeking help says, we all love to see the plan. Great. And then the person who is the person with the answers asks for a contribution. And the person says, well, okay, I'll do what I can. But if you want money for people with minds that hate, I'm going to tell you, you have to wait. Okay. So far, we acknowledge that we want some change. We acknowledge we do not want it destructively, and we do not want it with an attitude of hatred. What's next? Well, then the idea of changing the Constitution. Let's change the head. Let's change the laws. Well, maybe that's an answer. Maybe it's the institution that's the problem. And this is where the person who is seeking the answers finally starts to get clarity. Maybe it's time to free your mind instead. And then it goes on to the idea of being so set in your own way that you would be a card-carrying member of something. Therefore, taunting everyone else who isn't a member and making it very clear that there's a them and an us. And that's not going to make it with anyone. And so the message in the song Revolution is free your mind. In the end, it's the only thing that allows change to happen, is if you are open-minded enough to have a conversation, to then look at all of those other ideas, but start with you. No destruction, no hatred. But doing that can be confusing. So how do we effect change? How do we move towards change? We begin by going within. And so we sang the song Across the Universe, which is a reminder to us that what we want to do is, when we have words tumbling and jumbling, and there's just so much busyness in our brain, that we go within to a time of meditation. And the refrain of the song is Jai Guru Deva Om. Sanskrit phrase that loosely translated means glory to the shining remover of darkness. And in the song we see this movement from confusion to clarity, from words flying and slithering and slipping away across the universe, with thoughts meandering and tumbling blindly. Have we not all experienced that, where our minds are like, can't make sense of anything? There's just so much thinking going on. And yet, inciting and inviting me are sounds of laughter and shades of life, ringing through open ears, noticing images of broken light that dance before me. Yes, Willem, exactly. Towards limitless, undying love that shines around me like a million suns, calling me on and on. It's such a brilliant image of go within towards the light. It's calling you. And then we move to imagination. That song that Cindy just sang, which is another song that is brilliant in its constitution. Because it starts out, imagine there's no heaven, no hell, just blue sky. Living for today, not for fear of tomorrow, not for fear of what's going to happen after death. It's easy if you try. Then the imagination comes a little further in. And it's, imagine there's no countries. Now, instead of it's easy if you try, it changes to it isn't hard to do. It's actually a slightly more negative way of looking at it. Because it's that much harder. Nothing to kill or die for. No religion. Religion, don't get me started. The harm that religion has done in the name of the one power is appalling. Don't get me started. Live life in peace. I hope you'll join us. There's a call to action. And then that is followed by, imagine no possessions. I wonder if you can. But here's the promise. If you had no possessions, if everything was for everyone, there would be no need for greed. There would be no need for hunger. Imagine all the people sharing all the world. The hardest thing, I wonder if you can. The help we need, then, is not just from anybody. It is a revolution that begins with freeing our minds in an evolution that calls us to move across the universe, away from jumbles of words and thoughts tumbling blindly, towards images of broken light, until we reach the limitless, undying love which shines around us like a million suns. Imagine. Here comes the sun. We bring the light in. Week 2. Take a sad song and make it better. We looked at how so much of our life experience can be informed and transformed by how we look at it. And we started with, yesterday, looking at the longing for a past where our troubles seem so far away, and how we longed for a place to hide away, which took us to the octopus's garden. Because the octopus's garden is this place that octopus, who knew, apparently actually travel on the bottom of the seabed, and they pick up little treasures, and then they take those treasures and create a little hideaway that they then can retreat to. And one of the strategies that we can have when we are feeling this need to hide away, to restore ourselves, is to find things that are memories, treasures, that can bring us peace and remind us that we are not our experiences, that we are something more. And so we use the idea of the octopus's garden to be a place where we can find a place to go inside and connect with safety, where we'd be warm beneath the storm. It does help to store treasures in our own minds that we can go to. And then we let it be. And we'll sing this song towards the end of our program today. But the idea of when we find ourselves in times of trouble, that often the wisdom that is within us is to let it be. Do we really need to argue against it? What if we just allowed it? And then we move to Hey Jude. And Hey Jude is a song that at first appears to be about a person. But imagine that song, wherever you hear the word her, it's her or he or a situation or a thing that you long for. And then suddenly those words take on a new meaning. Because then the idea of letting a feeling into your heart so you can start to make it feel better has it's an idea of freedom. And often what we do when we're in pain is we push things down. We don't want to talk about it. We don't want to experience it. It's uncomfortable. But when we actually allow the feeling into our hearts, that is when we can start to make it better. Let it under your skin so you can begin to make it better. And then the song goes on. Anytime you feel the pain, refrain. Don't carry the world on your shoulder. You'll do. You don't need the approval of others. Sometimes it's nice to have it. But when you feel the pain, remember that you're enough. The movement you need is on your shoulders. And then the theme throughout that whole song, don't make it bad. Look at it differently. Take a sad song and make it better. Week 3. You are only waiting for this moment to arise. In this week, we looked at songs about loneliness. We looked at Eleanor Rigby, Nowhere Man, She's Leaving Home, The Long and Winding Road, Blackbird, and All You Need Is Love. And the journey that we get taken on, if we look at these songs, is a journey from loneliness and longing for love and longing for connection and finding that it doesn't always work. So we see Eleanor Rigby picking up the rice at a church where a wedding has been. We see her living in a dream, putting on makeup, presumably, a face that she keeps in a jar by the door. Who is it for? Where do the lonely people belong? And it's kind of a sad song. We see the minister, Father Mackenzie, writing the words to a sermon that no one will hear. And then wondering also, who does he save? What's it all for? Beautiful words about the human condition and why are we here? And we get a little bit of a hint when we look at Nowhere Man. Say that 3 times quickly. When we are wanting the question, where do we all belong? We see a hint from the words in Nowhere Man, because here we see this person who has no direction. A real nowhere man sitting in a nowhere land making plans for nobody. Doesn't have a point of view, knows not where he's going to. Isn't he a bit like you and me? And then we see this movement of hope, where there's this place of listen. You don't know what you're missing. The world is at your command. So find what matters to you. Stay true to your values. Nowhere man, please listen. You don't know what you're missing. The world is at your command. But to listen sometimes to the inner voice that is within us, that is longing for something which has meaning for us, can sometimes inconvenience other people. And so we saw this in the song, She's Leaving Home, which I read to you, about a young girl who's sneaking out of her home at 5 o'clock in the morning, clutching her handkerchief, leaving home to meet a man from the motor trade. And we see her parents finding the note that she leaves for them, a note that she hopes would say more. It takes courage to break away from the expectations of people who care about us. And we never really know what happens to her. We just hear about her on Wednesday, and then we hear about her on Friday. But what we see is that she's uncomfortable. She leaves a note. She's clutching a handkerchief. So it's emotional. And she does it anyway. Why? Because she wants to leave home, because she's been living alone for so many years. We can be lonely in the middle of family, in the middle of hundreds of people, in the middle of 2 people. And it can take courage to break away from those expectations. And we can also learn from the parents and their reaction, because their reaction is, again, just like we would do, which is, first they're confused, like, she's got everything, we sacrificed everything for her. Why would she do this? Followed by anger. Why would she treat us this thoughtlessly? Why would she do this to me? And then finally, a sense of curiosity and regret. What did we do? We didn't know it was wrong. Fun is the one thing that money can't buy. Then we explored this idea of leaving that expectation breaking away, seeing ourselves at times like the girl, at times we're the parents with that, why would they do that? Why would they do that to me? And, oh, maybe there's something I didn't know. And we follow, all of us, each one of us, follows a long and winding road that leads to the door of joy and love and laughter that we are all longing to connect with. And what's interesting about that song is it never disappears, that long and winding road. Neither does the door. And think of the door, think of you in the song as the highest place of us. It could be love, it could be higher consciousness, it could be the dream that we've had that just won't go away, for God's sake. And it's just, it's like a little itch that's longing to be scratched. And we ignore it. And yet, there are sometimes wild and windy nights that come and go. But the rain washes them away and leaves pools of tears that we then sit with for too long at times. The aftermath of some of the wild and windy nights can cause us so much pain and can make us feel lost and alone, longing for yesterday. But there's a longing in that song of, why leave me standing here, let me know the way. And then we followed with Blackbird, a song written by Paul McCartney to honor and recognize the civil rights movement and the movement of brokenness, learning to fly. Sunken eyes, learning to see. Because each of us, long and wait for this moment to arise. We long and wait for this moment to be free. Okay, week 4. We're going to do this fastest week 4 you've ever heard Rona speak. Oh. Thank you, Diane. I was like, come on now. Isn't it awesome that we can get together like this and laugh and sing and consider ideas, but also like just be who we are? You know, anyway, it lifts my heart so much. We can work it out. First, we spoke about can't buy me love. And I called this the overgiver. I'll buy you a diamond ring, my friend, if it makes you feel good. I'll do anything for you if it makes you feel happy. Oh, my goodness. Do we not sometimes find ourselves giving too much in the hope that the other person will reciprocate in some way? Maybe it's with love, maybe it's just with calm. And there are times when giving is absolutely appropriate. And there are times when we give too much of ourselves away, and it actually is a place that depletes us. When we find ourselves in the place where we're the overgiver, let's ask ourselves whether or not we are being depleted in the process. Because we don't want that. And don't be too hard on yourself if you find yourself doing it, because it's what we've done for years and years. So just notice it. Then, oops, sorry, wrong one. Next, please, please me. So this is where can't buy me love is the overgiving. Please, please me is the overtaking, where we take too much and it's one-sided. And I called this one also the victimized gaslighter, also the scorekeeper. So this is the person who says, I know you. As soon as you hear the words, I know you, followed by a characterization about your motives that somebody thinks that they know, pay attention, because they don't know. Sometimes you don't even know your motives. How on earth would they know? So notice that. And then, please, please me like I please you. Maybe. You don't need me to show the way. Why should I always have to say, please, please me? It's all about me. But I'm telling you, it's all about you. And then he gaslights even more. I don't want to sound complaining, but you know, there's always rain in my heart. So I'm going to complain. I do all the pleasing. It's so hard to reason with you. You see how one-sided it is? Why do you make me blue? The overtaker. And we've all been there. We will all be there again. All we want to try and do is move in the direction of something that's a little bit more respectful to both parties. Then we move to, speaking of respect, we can work it out, as long as you see it my way. So this is the biased negotiator. Try to see it my way. I'm going to keep talking until I can't go on anymore. While you see it your way, there's a risk that we're going to fall apart. But we can work it out. as long as you see it my way. And then life is short. There's no time for fussing and fighting, so why don't you just see it my way? We've all done it. These are human traits. So when we find ourselves in that place of see it my way's the right way, your way, you may believe it's right, but it's actually wrong. You're in a place of war. We are right. Whenever you see yourself right and somebody else is wrong, you're in a place of war. When you're in a place of war, it's hard to work things out. And then we looked at when I'm 64. And here we see this invitation to a shared vision. Two people coming together. When I'm older, will you still love me? Will you still need me? These are the things I might still do not quite right, but that's okay. You're going to be older too. But here's a picture of what it could look like. I could be handy, mending a fuse when your lights are gone. We could sit by the fireside, you can knit, we could have grandchildren, we could save up, scrimp and save, and go on a vacation together. Who could ask for anything more? But then, clarity, a desire for clarity. Write me a postcard, send me a line, stating your point of view. Indicate precisely what you want to say. And I can either accept it or choose to move to something else. But there's no trying to fix, trying to adjust, trying to in any way influence. That's the beauty of when I'm 64. And then, finally, Obladi, Oblada, which for many is like just a silly song, until you look at the lyrics, which in retrospect we didn't sing the final verse last week, but we will today, where we see this change in gender roles that happens. It's like, what just happened? How many people even noticed that that was there in the song? That what happens is in the second to last stanza, you see Desmond lets the children lend a hand in the marketplace, and Molly's the singer in the band. Molly's stays at home and does her pretty face. But the last verse is Molly lets the children lend a hand in the marketplace. Desmond is at home doing his pretty face. And we don't know who the singer is. It just says she sings in the band. And you know, with today's gender roles, people who are male will sometimes identify as female and vice versa. And we don't know that this is what the song is about. But for me, it is an absolute acceptance that people will change, and we can choose to let it be and have some fun anyway. And the refrain is Obladi Blada. So there you go. There's our summary of this whole several weeks. If you want change, remember to free your mind instead. If you have a sad song and you want to make it better, the movement you need is on your shoulder. If you are feeling lost, follow the call of the long and winding road. Learn to fly, learn to see. Because all your life you have been waiting for this moment to be free. And if you want rich and rewarding relationship, Notice your tendency to overgive and deplete yourself, which is a relationship you have with yourself, as well as your tendency to take too much. Notice your tendency to be one-sided or another. And remember, through all of these songs, all you need is love. And if you want some fun, sing Obladi Blada.